Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. Coach BK with Coach Jenniferlyn, and we are so happy that you're here. We're going to talk about
Yeah,
these 5 things that, Jennifer, what are these 5 things doing?
they're holding us back.
Oh my gosh. Dang
They're
it.
getting in our way.
I know it. So, you want to lead us through this beginning kind of idea? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's a very good point. What are we talking about? Well, we know that in our daily journeys that we have plenty of obstacles in our way, right? We have time working against us. We have all these other things that we have. However, we don't need to be an additional obstacle in our way, right? And often we end up being the additional obstacle in our way. We have enough to deal with. We don't have to put these other things. And we call these self-imposed obstacles. That's what we're talking about today.
Self-imposed obstacles.
Self-imposed obstacles. So what do we mean by that? It means things that aren't outside our control. They're things that are completely within our control that we, even if we don't realize we're doing it, we're sort of self-sabotaging ourselves. Self-sabotage. Girl, I cannot talk. Self-sabotaging ourselves with these self-imposed obstacles.
Okay.
So then what are they?
I cannot do this. But what will they think? Oh, I hate that one. I am not good enough. Oh my gosh, that's an ugly one. I do
Get
not
it
have
out.
I don't have time for this. And it's too difficult.
No, it's so hard. It's too difficult. I don't.
That's almost like a knee-jerk default action to like lots of things.
Oh, absolutely. It's that first thing when you hear something new, you never jump to, oh my goodness, yes.
Right?
We jump to, oh, no. Oh, wait. Okay. Well, maybe I can do it.
But you know what? Tell us though, because you said the other day to me that we're sort of a little bit hardwired to do that. Why are we hardwired to do like no and pull back?
Yeah, and that's a fact. We have this thing called the lizard brain or reptilian brain, and it's actually our self-saboteur. So often we think, oh, I don't have enough willpower, or oh, I'm not strong enough to do this. I can't succeed in this because, I'm not blah, blah, blah enough. And the reason why is there's a little part of us that's kept us alive and it has allowed us to evolve as humans. That every time we try to make these changes and try to take a risk to get out of that comfort zone, that place that makes your heart beat a little faster, that place that kind of gives you the chills up your arms and the back of the neck, this little part of us says, no, stop. No, that's scary. It's risky. You can't do this. Stop, stop, stop. So it's something that's so embedded in us, we don't even realize it's happening. And what happens is when we go to take a risk or we go to accomplish something, this little reptilian brain sneaks in and it whispers to you, you can't do that. It's not going to be good. There's going to be failure. Can't do that. And so we immediately start sabotaging ourselves and saying, oh, no, I can't do this. Why? Because the reptilian brain kept us alive. And now that we're trying to change something, it doesn't know that you're trying to change for good. Any change to the reptilian brain is bad because it could potentially endanger your livelihood, according to the reptilian brain.
Well, right, because what we're talking about is, a lot of evolution of, do this and you survived and you maybe felt good and so it was good. And then if you deviate from that, the risk of, I don't know, falling off a cliff or getting eaten or, not finding
saber-toothed tiger coming for you.
Right. So it's not a bad limbic brain, but it's certainly overactive now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So unfortunately, that's just another thing that is ingrained in us as humans that sort of makes it a little bit more difficult to jump into these situations without these flags going up.
So Jennifer and I want to start off this conversation with sometimes looking at these things can be hard, right? This like, I am not good enough. People can go, oh man, people can go a lifetime and not be able to feel brave enough or strong enough in order to kind of tackle that at the root of it. So, just be lighthearted and objective and not critical or hard on yourself at all. And just, look in the mirror and ask yourself these questions with a brave heart and with maybe kind of just objective or like you're looking at flowers and you're investigating and stuff like that. Don't judge yourself for any of this stuff, because life is tough, and you need to be your own fan, but you do want to, say, oh, I want that a little different.
Exactly. And here's the secret. It happens to all of us. Every single person goes through this.
So,
right? There is one person out there, I think, that truly doesn't have these little voices that creep in.
Oh, definitely. Like how many Ironman have you towed up to? I think I'm on number 4. Texas, you'll be on number 4. Yeah, you're rolling into 3, gonna right into number 4. And I gotta tell you, I still kind of like it still comes up, and I'm like, I have to tell myself, BK, all right, stop. You have done like Wisconsin with the mass start twice. You're all right. You can do hard stuff. Stop letting that liar filter be louder than the badassness of what you are. Okay.
Absolutely.
I still have to
tune out.
Still have to tell myself that.
This badassery.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
So where are we going?
All right. So let's talk a little bit while we're here then.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So we know that we get in our own way. We know that. And it's not intentional for the most part. But today we're really going to have a conversation about how to look for these self-imposed obstacles. What are they? And what are some tools? What are some approaches we can take to sit with them and then negate them so we can find our true thoughts, the way that's going to help us really make those changes in our life.
Right.
So I'll let BK give a little bit of introduction about herself and how we got here.
Oh, I'm a former engineer and 3-time Ironman finisher, and I almost drowned when I was little. And the reason why I started triathlon was to learn how to swim so I could go surf. And then found within Ironman just a ton of fun, but a way of really working on myself in a fun way, not going to the therapist office where that's no fun. But meeting, like yourself, meeting some of the best people ever, and then just really feeling inspired to help others. So, that's why we're sitting in front of you, is these things that we did have impacted us so much that we want to, invite you to join with us and learn some of the things that we have learned, and, tell you you're brave enough, you're strong enough to do it. We'll help you a little bit if you need to. So
absolutely. And it's kind of funny that Coach BK and I share a very eerily similar background. I'm also an engineer.
Yeah. I
also drowned as a child in the ocean, which is why to date, almost all of my Ironmans have actually been in the ocean, which is sort of stupid. But it was my way of getting over my fear of the water and swimming again after drowning.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that we have a very similar sort of path on how we got here.
Yeah.
But for me, it echoes very similarly. I found a way that I had really struggled a lot in my life. I didn't really have a good mentor or guide growing up, so I really had to find my way. And I realized, where would I be so much quicker, or how would I be if I had had someone that would help me kind of navigate these things? So it sort of drove me to this place of, wow, maybe I can do that for someone else. I had to clear my own path, but if someone was there with a lantern sort of helping me see, I think it would have gone much more smoothly. And so that kind of is what drives my passion about helping light the path for others. I'm not going to clear it for you, but I'm here to help you see other things that are ahead of you so you can make your own way.
Right. Absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Tickled pink.
And that really is what kind of created this whole program together, was because of the shared passion of, wow, we find ourselves and the people we know and the people we coach in this pattern of getting in their own way.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we just get them out of their own way? Think of how much clearer that path ahead would be. And voila.
Right.
Here we are looking at this.
Right. Absolutely. Cool.
So one thing I would like to pose to everyone watching this is, when you're looking through and you might have that knee-jerk reaction of judgment when you hear something like, ooh, yeah, that's me. Ooh, like BK said, don't judge yourself with this. But when you're looking through this, pose the question to yourself, what story do you want to tell in your life? And our reason for posing this question is, you are the narrator of your life. You create the narrative of your life. Life doesn't, and we say it does, but life does not just happen. You have to take an active role in your life. And part of that creation story is what you want your story to be. So just think about that when you're thinking through this.
Absolutely.
So then we've talked enough about, okay, we're going to address these SIOs, these self-imposed obstacles that are getting in our way. So what exactly are they then?
Okay.
So we identified 5. So BK, take it away.
Okay, number 1, feeding your negative narratives, or some people say those filters, the negative self-talk, that jabber, those things that we pick up. And number 2, giving weight to other people's opinions and their judgments, or trying to avoid their judgments.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Number 3, feeding self-doubt. Okay, I'm not good enough thing. We'll talk more about that. That's a big one. And I want to throw in here, be patient. Like, she's going to talk about patience, but this feeding self-doubt, I don't know about you, Jennifer. I don't know how old I am, 45, 46, something like that. This darn thing, oh yeah, this darn thing keeps coming up. Oh, you do some, live with it. Do some more, live with it. Oh my gosh. Number 4, expecting too much too fast. And number 5, procrastinating. Why do we procrastinate? And with specifically being afraid to try and not fail. Okay.
Big ones. So let's go ahead and start off with feeding your negative narratives.
Okay. Negative narratives. What does that mean? So these things that we believe, that we pick up, and really your brain is designed to do this. You get so much stimulus in from the world, more than you're even aware of. And your brain is like this super stinking computer that has all these little software programs running, and it makes things fast. It makes kind of like an autopilot, how to deal with this and how to deal with that, because you can't process and think about everything that's coming in at you. So that's where these kind of start from, these negative narratives, how to process your day or just everything. But what happens is say like you're in a relationship and the husband says, you know, you never do enough, or this isn't good enough. Then you start picking up this narrative of, you know, the things that I'm doing aren't good enough. And then you try to go into perfectionism and stuff like that. So, you know, negative narratives, or what I do isn't good enough, or whatever, wherever it's coming from. Jennifer and I both will tell you, when you guys work with us, you will never hear anything but you're freaking awesome and amazing. We all come to this place awesome and amazing, and that's just a fact. You believing it is where your work is at. So,
absolutely.
so how we
don't lie.
Right? And sometimes it just doesn't really even matter where these negative narratives come from. You can look at it and be like, what the I know, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And the way to do things is to crowd stuff in, crowd good in. Stop trying to fix anything. Just bring good stuff in. Do good stuff. And so this positive self-talk is the way to go. Whatever it is. Say, oh, what's a good example? Negative self-talk. I have one.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah, so
I can't do this.
It's so big though. Like if you're in someone kind of disagrees with your what you put out there, and they come back with you know, and maybe they don't say it quite right, but you take it as an attack a little bit. You've got this kind of negative narrative that you're not good enough, so you kind of always have to fight for your self-worth and whatnot, and so you respond back. So a positive self-talk would be, okay, I'm good. I've got this. And really self-talk into what you want to see happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Be calm. Calm and respond. I just told my fiance just a couple of hours ago, respond, don't react. Okay? Because he's
I
kind of
like that.
right. But
So
you
there's
know,
a difference. There's a big
a
difference.
huge difference. But this positive self-talk, you would say, I can respond calm. You know, you see it, you're like, rah, 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 rah. Hopefully you can get the space to say, I can respond calm. That's positive self-talk. It's putting positive into the situation. And if you said that to yourself 20 times, 30 times, just sat there and stared at that text, I can respond positive, I can respond positive, I can respond positive. Pretty soon you'll look back down at it and you'll be like, oh, I'm gonna say it like this.
Yes.
Do you have
And
another
honestly, I'll say
example?
I think you'd probably feel better responding positively, even if the internal you really wants to say something snarky and negative.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you'll be much more happy with yourself if you take it in a positive way.
So like in training, do you have an example of this for yourself in your training life as far as a negative narrative that you have?
Absolutely. Yeah, for me personally, it's really when it comes to the run, it's something that I know, and it's ironic because I got into triathlon actually as a runner. And I say that embarrassed because I'm not a runner anymore. I've fallen in love with the other sports, but every single time I go for the run, and right now I'm injured, so we'll kind of asterisk that today. But in general, anytime I would go out for a run, the first thing that would come into my mind is this is going to be misery. This is going to be a slog fest. This is going to be a death march. And it's something that if you haven't even taken your first step and you're already saying this is going to be miserable, that's really not the right mindset to be in.
Right.
Right. So I sit there and I keep reinforcing this loop of I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. So recently this year, because of an injury, I decided to take a different approach. And I was like, you know what? I think maybe I don't view myself as a runner because I've associated struggle as a bad thing. So why don't I go ahead and embrace my struggle and say every time I go out there, it's a win, as opposed to focusing on
Right.
how difficult it felt or how high my heart rate was or my
Right.
pace. Just ignore the data and just go based off of running with my heart. And I'll tell you what, now I embrace the runs. I look forward to them, and they might be painful and slow because of my current situation, but I feel so much better about them just by switching off that negative self-talk beforehand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't tell you how
Mhm.
many races I've been rah, and then I'm like, no. And for me, it's about pictures. I love pictures. And
Yeah.
I did a race I didn't want to do, and I was rah, 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 but I ended up PRing all of it. It was a 50K. But
Nice.
yeah, I took a picture, a funny picture each loop. Oh, it was on like a .8 mile loop. It was stupid and it was windy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, for real. The negative self talk was half legit because it was dumb. I'm a .8 mile loop for a 50K is a dumb idea. Don't ever do it.
Yeah.
But I took a
I like
pic.
your idea though of taking the picture.
I did, and I turned it into a race video. And so it was, I spent the time like trying to figure out what am I going to do next, and it really just a performance wise. Um, it will just zoom you right into possibility, potential, getting out of your own way.
Yes. I love what you did. You really found a purpose. You created a purpose within your event.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it. If I'm gonna sit here and be about it, I'm gonna make it something I can tick off that's fun to do. I love that approach.
Yeah. So positive, always how you getting positive in. I don't care how you do it, just do it.
But I think the key here to note is we're not saying the sunshine, everything's perfect, and rainbows and puppy dogs, and everything's great. And, meanwhile, the background's on fire. We're saying, yes, there will be negativity that creeps in. Sort of like BK said earlier, that knee jerk reaction, right? Rarely do we ever knee jerk reaction in a positive way. So it's okay to understand you're going to still have the negative voice, but it's how you handle it. It's that turning that rah, rah, into a purpose
Right.
that drives happiness as you do it.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Love it. Number 2. So tell us about number 2, yo.
Yes, and it kind of flows very nicely into it. So you put number 2 is giving weight to others' opinions. And I'll say this is probably something that we all do, but we might not have the self-awareness to realize how much we do it. So what I mean by giving weight to others' opinions, it's when you think of something, you immediately base it off of what someone else would react to how you do it. So I'm talking about, oh, what happens if I finish last? Oh, what if I don't lose the weight? Oh, I don't want to do the race. I'm not fast enough. I don't want to be the last person. I don't want to do this. What if I don't hit my targets? They're going to think I'm a failure. They're going to judge me. They're going to laugh at me. That's doing what you do through the lens of what other people think of you. You're giving way too much weight to other people's opinions.
Yeah.
And the importance here is to realize that other people's opinions are their own, and that's their business. It's not your business to know what their opinions are. First of all, that's not your burden. Your burden is to make sure that you are doing something that you enjoy. And if other people have opinions about it, it's really not their business to share with you. Secondly, I think we think people are going to respond much worse to a situation than they actually will be.
Absolutely.
For example, right? And I'm in the situation right now of going into Army in Florida here in like 9 days or something ridiculous. Being injured, the second I got injured, it was shattering for me because I sat there and immediately thought, well, there goes my race. What do I do? There goes my race, which is absolutely stupid. The first thought should have been, what about my injury? But see, immediately I went to the putting weight on other people. All these people know I'm going for this race. If something happens, they're going to think I'm not capable of doing this. Oh, I don't want to be embarrassed if I can't finish. And very fortunate for me, BK and I just happened to have a phone call the day I had my ultimate meltdown. And I'm forever grateful for BK for helping me kind of break through myself, get out of my own damn way, and really see what I was doing was putting this weight on myself about other people's opinions.
Yeah.
I needed to look at it as, what does the event mean for you? Forget about every other person in the world. What does this mean to you? And I was like, oh, I actually never thought about myself.
Right.
So how do we deal with this then? We're always doing things for other people, or we feel, oh, they're going to think I'm a bad mom because I'm spending time doing this and not doing that. They're going to think I'm a bad employee because I choose to do this and not that. We need to readjust this lens. Instead of looking at it through what will they think, we need to look at it through how will this experience make me feel, right?
Yeah.
So it's adjusting the sails from looking at it through how is this impacting other people who honestly shouldn't impact them to what can I get out of it for myself?
Yeah. And I didn't say this to you this strongly, but, and I have gone through being an injured athlete and having my athletic identity changed. I've had 3 heart surgeries and stuff. So, I was just kind of passing on to you what I had learned, sort of the hard way a little bit. The wicked truth is, if you're doing this stuff long enough, you are going to get hurt. You are going to do a DNF. You are going to have to call some race. And, I said to Jennifer gently, because we were talking about Ironman Texas too, I'm like, dude, look at this experience as what you're supposed to be learning right now. It happened for a reason. Zoom out a bit. One race, it's an Ironman, it's a big race, it's a big thing. But your life is bigger. Your journey is so much bigger. And it's really a hiccup, and it's good to zoom out. But what people think, gosh, it's so huge. And especially if you're a coach and stuff like that. But you're gonna come off of this, and you're already reaping in the rewards of the lessons and stuff like that. So, but you don't learn those if you're just totally fixated on what people are thinking.
Absolutely. And it's sad because I found myself, and I don't know if this is just my coping mechanism or if this is something you find yourself doing as well when you're in these situations, or if anyone watching this, if this is something that you connect with or resonate. But I immediately found myself sort of apologizing ahead of time, right? Like, oh yeah, I have Ironman in Florida coming up. However, I'm not expecting to finish. So please, if you track me, don't even waste your time tracking me. If you do track me, please, if you see me slowing down, don't worry. I honestly don't think I'm going to finish because of my injury. And I found myself spending so much energy readjusting other people's expectations for myself, that after our talk, I was like, why am I doing this? I'm basically apologizing for continuing on with an event that I want to do because I find it fun. Like, that's silly.
And
So
and
silly.
a result that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah. Oh, I put it out in the universe. Oh, it's going to be a DNF immediately. Like, I immediately went to, not going to happen.
Right.
But I'm still towing the line, but it's not going to happen. Right. It's just, I found myself secretly saying, but what if I finish? Then it will be a surprise for them. But let me get their expectations here. And if I perform better, then it's a bonus. I'd rather under promise and over deliver.
Right.
So yeah, this one I think is also a big joy stealer as well. Right? Because you spend so much time focusing on them, not enough about yourself, that you lose yourself, and then you have no connection to your goals anymore. It's easier to give up once you say the negativity is going to come from someone else. It kind of gives you an excuse.
Yeah.
We use it as an enabler to have an exit plan on our goals.
Well, and it's interesting that we put that as number 2 because it directly goes to number 3, with is, super closely tied with feeding self-doubt. And this is, we started off with that slide of I'm not good enough. So, if you're ready to be receptive to, if you're doing this, and to the idea of, maybe your self-doubt, your self-worth and whatnot are not as solid. And it could be just in an athletic point of view, but you're super solid in maybe like business life or whatever. But, that can go back to why we care so much about what people think, because our own self-worth and doubt, or, that whole thing is on the line. And so, we like the like buttons, and we like people in these Facebook groups saying, oh, you're amazing and you're amazing. Yes. And not to say that that's a bad thing. But sometimes we need to have a reality check with ourselves on, is that part of a celebration, or are we actually using that to feed our self-doubt or try to band-aid our self-doubt? So anyway, feeding self-doubt. We are always kind of holding back, and we're not, like that question, when do you know it's time to sign up for Ironman? Oh, well, it was a while back. Now you're asking the question, right? Truth.
Exactly.
But
everyone else was doing it.
But how many times do we not go for something bigger because we're worried of failing, and that self-doubt thing, and really feeding that self-doubt. Oh, I'm not a good runner. I'm a slow runner. I'm a bad swimmer, or whatever, right? You're not that perfect athletic body, and just really feeding that self-doubt. We do it everywhere.
All the time.
And what I like about this triathlon world is it's a little bit of a safer, less in-your-face place to, practice leaning into it and accepting it, and doing the things that we can do to help build more self-esteem and more, at least turn away from the self-doubt and don't let it be the loudest voice.
Absolutely.
And I talk about this a lot to my athletes, and I read it a lot. I didn't push very hard because I didn't want to be, and they're already thinking I can't do it. Self-doubt.
Yeah.
And so, I design scenarios and workouts and stuff, and I get a lot of middle fingers in Training Peaks. They're like, I know, right? Because I'm trying to help them practice risk taking. So what does that mean? Risk taking, like in a workout, in a run workout, do these hard intervals and don't hold back in the beginning because you're afraid of whatever, or you're afraid you can't do it. So what if you bomb on a run interval? Who cares? The treadmill doesn't. Training Peaks doesn't. I'm just seeing what you got and trying to get you to do a little bit of risk taking. So those types of activities actually feed the opposite of this feeding self-doubt. Taking risks and whatnot will help feed your self-confidence. And it could be in anything. It can be in business meetings too. Like, take a risk with being appropriate and holding your own ground a little bit more. Take certain risks. You can be smart about it.
Absolutely.
Practice. And it's super duper interesting when you start doing this risk taking in workouts or wherever, or in strangers, like we were talking, and I have too previously struggled with talking in public. Put yourself into a position where you have to take a risk and do it.
Absolutely.
And that's the way that you get to approaching things with a positive bias, a bias towards action, instead of feeding self-doubt and you go the other way. Oh, I'm not going to.
Absolutely. It's just like a muscle, right? You have to practice it. Doing it once is scary. It will take us much longer to make that first risk or to take that first risk.
Right.
But after you do it, the next one isn't so scary because you've made it through the other side of the risk, right? You didn't just look at fear and say, you were willing to take the risk to kind of go through fear and to see what was on the other side of that fear. And the more often you do that, the more you might find yourself craving a little bit more risk, and not in a negative light, but in a way of, I'm willing to now make a little bit more changes, or I'm willing to try something I before wouldn't even think of because I've, been practicing this risk taking, and now I'm able to do it with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, and we're not saying that you're going to do this and then the risk taking and on the other side you're going to succeed at everything that you do. That's not what we're saying. We're saying this risk taking is the skill.
Yes. Failure is an option, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Because really, from you'll say this, I know you'll say this, and I say this. Some of my biggest lessons came from when I took a risk and I totally fell flat on my face, and learned a whole ton. Got up.
Yeah, speaking of.
Took the risk again.
Yeah, you alluded it to earlier. My biggest risk was public speaking. I used to be so afraid to speak in front of people that I actually, whenever I would go to my global conferences or any work events, I would actually have a colleague present my work. And at first it was just like, I don't care. But then I realized, wait a minute, people have literally never heard anything from me. It might be a career limiter. Maybe I need to grow a voice. And so my team, we all had to go through mandatory presentation and speaking training. And in that training, the very first thing we had to do was to stand up and give a 90-second elevator pitch. That speech about yourself?
Oh, yeah.
If you're in an elevator, here's what I am, here's what I do, and this is how I do it.
Right.
So super easy, right? In theory, super easy. It's about yourself. You know yourself better than anyone.
Except when you're sweating.
Yeah, exactly. Except for I was in a room with like 7 people that I work with every day of my life. So they know me very well. Stood up, got to the front of the room, and immediately started speaking. Hello, my name's Jennifer. And that's the last thing I remember because I passed out and fell flat on my face.
Oh,
literally.
No. Oh, no.
So when we talk about epic failures, my biggest fear was, what if something horrible happens when I'm up there? And I would venture to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, BK, that was probably the worst thing that could happen when you're presenting.
I was pretty close. Having to do CPR on you would have been slightly worse, and I'm sure people are like,
true.
Oh my gosh.
So up there in the top of bad things that could happen.
No, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
I tell you what, the most amazing thing happened. I failed. And not one person laughed, pointed. There was definitely a point of concern at some point. Like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But after the dust settled, everyone was very supportive. And honestly, the facilitators treated it wonderfully as a learning opportunity to be like, look, this is how serious the fear can be, right? And I tell you what, it didn't stop me from trying again. And in fact, went on and presented more in that training, and I ended up with the most improved presentation because I didn't pass out in my final.
Set the bar really high. No,
exactly. I was like, well, sweet, all I have to do is stay breathing.
You say something, and you triggered a thought. I think that it's super. We need to really bring it up and remember that probably one of the reasons why the triathlon world is so welcoming and so. I mean, this is why we stay here, because we all know it's incredibly difficult. And yes. I mean, there's the exceptions, but like I just saw somebody message me, some random girl that we found at, in the swim shoot of Ohio 70.3, which turned out to be just the most horriblest race ever, right?
But it was awesome.
Yeah, right. But she was literally freaking out. And, so an athlete of mine and I, and we're good friends, and we were just like, yo, just calm down. This is okay. You just need to tell yourself you're a badass. You're a badass. You're a badass. Just keep saying that the whole time. Don't say anything else. It doesn't matter what your brain is saying. Just say, I got this. Because she was doing this, practice this risk taking. And that's what you're doing when you're towing up to a big line.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough, but, I want to add to the slide this, practice the risk taking, but be open to the people around you that are going to help you. And that's the triathlon world.
Yeah.
I've started volunteering at swim starts, and I take my dog with me, and she's my little volunteer too, just to be like, it's good juju. Just chill, smile, tell yourself I got this, and don't let anything else come in your way. I got this.
I love that. Yes.
Okay.
Got this. I'm a badass.
I'm a badass.
Badass. Need that mantra.
Okay.
Well, we were talking earlier about this whole topic about being impatient, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
we put here at number 4, this topic about expecting too much too fast. I think this applies to a lot of different places in our life. We expect in our career growth, we want everything now. Started a company, I want to be president in 3 years. Like I've seen it all in my life in career development. Think about when you go to lose weight. And that's a big topic for a lot of people, body comp, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at this and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and change my lifestyle. That's it. I want to get healthy. I'm going to do it for my family and set this positive example. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And at the end of the first week, it's like, wait a minute, I haven't lost enough. That's it. It's too hard. I'm done. We want it all, and we want it all like yesterday, which I appreciate that hustle. I appreciate that drive and passion. But we have to realize we did not get to where we are today like that. It took a while for us to get to where we are today. And it will take a while for us to get to that real place of transformation and lifestyle change and
right.
all the good stuff coming to us, right? So the way we get over this expecting too much too fast is probably going to be the most unhappy advice people hear. I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Sorry, you have to stop being impatient.
Yeah.
That's the only way to get over this, right? We need to learn patience and grace with ourselves, with the process. We know it takes 30 days to make a habit, right? And I like to say habits are great, but habits aren't changed. There's something you do just because you've been doing it, but a 30-day habit is still fairly easy to break. Am I right? It's there, but it's not truly ingrained. But the habit you've had for 5 or 6 years, that is really difficult to change. And we know this when we talk about lifestyle change. If your habit has been sitting on the sofa every day you come home from work, you sit on the sofa and you grab a donut or a soda or chips or just sit there and watch TV. And if you've done that for a good majority of your days over the last 4 or 5 years, how easy will it be for you to join the gym and start going to the gym every single day after work and working out for an hour every single night after work? Probably going to be pretty difficult, especially since that's not what you're used to. So we have to give yourself a chance. 30 days to make a habit. It will take about 3 months to make some form of real change. And that is difficult because the first 30 days we're going to want to quit because it isn't happening quick enough. By the time we hit 3 months, we should see some results to the change. And that's enough to keep us motivated to keep going. So what I really like to stress here is that give yourself the opportunity to experience whatever lifestyle change you're trying to do. If it's a new workout, a new coach, a new training plan, a new dietary eating pattern, a new whatever it is, give yourself 3 months to live in it at least, to give yourself the chance to really see if it works for you. Now, right away, if you're having any adverse effects, like you've now gained 20 pounds and you have followed everything to the T, then I would say go ahead and make a change quicker. But if you're just not seeing things as fast enough that you want to, remember, it takes a while to really build these changes.
Absolutely.
And it's important to understand. There's so much right now, this palpable buzz in the air about health and wellness, right? What do we hear now right now? What's the big thing? Keto, vegan, CrossFit. I don't even know if that's really that big. I don't even know what the new big thing is. Orange Theory or whatever these things are, right? And these are all good and healthy things. if you want to take that example of being sitting on the sofa every day, eating a donut, and I'm going to go completely keto and join a CrossFit box and just like crush CrossFit every day, you might go 1 or 2 times. You might stay consistent for like a week maybe, but at some point it's not going to be convenient to you. And that little reptilian brain is going to speak up and say, whoa, this is just too much too fast.
Right.
So we want it. We go for it. We do it all at once. The problem is your body is going to freak out and do everything in its power to stop you. So we need to look at it and say, I want to make big changes. Maybe you want to go vegan or keto or whatever it is. Start with small. Those small steps ultimately add up to big success. Okay? And BK, you mentioned earlier about this idea of crowding in, right? We need to crowd in the good things. And ultimately, over time, that leaves less room for the undesirable things, the things that don't do service to us. So if you have goals of maybe just being more active in your day to day, let's say right now you're only walking 500 or 1,000 steps a day, maybe look at, and you want to do, say, 10,000 steps a day. That's an outstanding goal. But are you going to be able to do that right away? Maybe you need to think smaller. Maybe you need to aim for 2,000, 5,000, right? And work your way into 10,000. As you build the habit and you build confidence, you're no longer feeding that negativity loop, which you feed if you go and try something and you're all in and you pull yourself out immediately because it isn't working, right? What does that just reinforce? I failed. I can't do it. It's too hard. It's too difficult. So we need to reinforce the positivity, right, by giving ourselves an opportunity to succeed at something. Right?
Yeah, it's funny that you end with that because that, segues really nice into our last point of procrastinating.
Yes. And we do need to make the point, though, that there's also a big difference between wanting to work for something and wanting to do the work for it. Or wanting something, right? So this is exactly to your point of procrastination. I really, really want to lose 50 pounds, but I've really wanted to lose 50 pounds for 3 years. There's a difference between really wanting this and really willing to put the time and effort into it.
Yeah, talk is cheap. Action is important, and I'm trying to really push the idea in my own group and my sphere circles of the bias towards positive action. Just go do it. Just go do it. I don't care what it looks like. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Just go do something. Yeah. So number 5. We get impatient, but then we also procrastinate. We procrastinate because we are afraid to try because we don't want to fail, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why we do some of these brash, do the keto and then do the the CrossFit. You see the pictures, you see the commercials, boom, there you go, real quick, right?
So much transformation.
Right. Those 2 adjustments are really difficult.
Yeah.
But this procrastinating, being afraid to try at something because we're afraid to fail. We really need to take a step back and define what success means.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll help us be a little bit more patient too. And so in that definition of success, how much weight are you giving to the journey? How much weight are you giving to the end whatever, right? So in this program, this mind body reset that we built, right? The picture is a path. And part of it is we are trying to help you clear your path. You already have a path. It's in front of you. You just have stuff in the way. So clear that path. So, in your definition of success, is it the journey? Or is it that end thing? Are you setting yourself kind of up a little bit for whatever this failure means because, you aren't giving enough to the path. You aren't giving enough to all the tiny things you're going to pick up that you have to evolve into and practice and hone and be really good at in order to do whatever this thing is success for you. This is Iron Man that we're talking about, right? Iron Man teaches this principle to a T.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's the best teacher.
It's fast too. And it's like in your face, like 2x4 style, in your face, right?
A gauntlet of 2x4s
Oh
just
my,
coming at you every direction.
you ever see that video, right? Of that dude, and he's a triathlon coach. It's on YouTube, a billion views of what the open water swim is like in his practice, where
Yes.
people are beating him with those, Nerf thingies running into the water, and then people beating him and when he's trying to swim. That's what it's like. But that's life. It's totally life. And, so what's your definition of success? Are you giving enough thought to the journey? Are you so tied up in proving that you're good enough that if you don't make this defined thing, then it's a failure? And then do you actually ever start doing it?
Yes. We see this actually, I think, a lot recently. And it's something that, it's a big debate. So this isn't a topic for debate, but to allude back to your point about defining success. Say you sign up for an Ironman, you train 20 plus weeks for it. You get to the Ironman race and surprise, the swim's canceled. The course is altered, right?
You bring that up. Yes.
Why? Because have you been in the forums and seen?
Oh, I've heard it over and over and over and over again. Yes.
Oh my gosh, it is the most. In one way, I say ludicrous, but then in the other way, you have to put yourself in their position that they've dedicated all these hours to training, and then the ultimate result is not going to be there for them in the way they thought it would be.
Right.
So the debate then is, well, I'm not an Ironman because I didn't do the swim.
Right.
Okay, well, there's different ways of looking at it, but you can't discredit yourself and say you're a failure because you already put in 20 hours of work, weeks of work, right towards this goal. What was your definition of success? Crossing that finish line at, whatever hour, or was it the journey? And I think the people who looked at it as the journey ended up much happier that race day than the people who looked at it going into it that I'm already a failure.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And I've, there's just been so many different instances of that this year in my own, like watching coaching and volunteering and supporting. I've had a heck of a race season.
You've got a busy lady.
Oh man, just the things that have happened, and I don't want to go through the list because this is an upbeat talk and that list is not. It's just like that this year has drove that home, and then going through my own I've really had to address this when I was going through heart surgery. So I've had 3 heart surgeries, and I used to be a balls to the wall, nothing's going to stop me, completely invincible person, and I'm mostly still that, except there's certain things that are my kryptonite that will, and you can't tell. I mean, most people are like, oh, you got this, da 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 da, and this is where you're like, yeah, but I mean, I was doing Ironman Texas in 2018, and it was a hot SOB because it's Texas, right? And it's April. And, I'm sitting there starting my run, and I'm in AFib. And I'm like, dang it, man, right?
Like, no.
Right. But, I manage it and stuff like that. But it's just prior to that, the race before that, I did half Ironman Boulder. And I was on heart meds, and if you guys don't know, Boulder is at altitude. Duh. And I knew that I might not actually make it, but I was showing up anyway because my definition of success was that I was going to live life on my terms a little bit more, and not that I had to finish it, but I needed to show up.
Oh, I love that.
Show up and do the best that I could. And the best that I could meant that I was embracing that I was a cardiac athlete, that I had limitations, but that I was also a go-getter and mostly unstoppable. And so I was trying to embrace all of those things and find doing the best that I could, considering all of that. And you embraced this for Florida. After our talk, you totally shifted around and did that same thing of embracing all of it. Show up, do the best that you can, and be stinking happy about it. And what I did,
Exactly.
what I did was for Boulder, I think I finished Boulder 8, maybe 17. I had, I don't know, 13 minutes to finish.
Wow.
I had to walk the half marathon. It was awesome. Not. Um, but I finished with a Superwoman cape on and Superwoman socks, and I got the best finisher picture ever. I actually got on the Boulder video. And
Oh,
so,
that's cool.
well, and that was just, it's just, I, changed it all around. I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to finish dead last and maybe not finish in time, I'm still going to have the best damn finisher picture ever. And I had told my coach at the time, your one job, this is what I said to him, Jeff, your one job is to make sure to get that finisher picture. And he's like, okay, this is cardiac patient. This is person that's just had her third heart surgery, right? And trying to heal from that and come up. And he goes, are you sure it's not that you're finishing alive? No. Best damn finisher picture ever. I'll make sure of all the other stuff. And we did have this contingency that if I had needed to stop, that he was going to come collect me, get the finisher picture, and then I would go cry somewhere else.
Aww, I like that.
But it was just that example of what is your definition of success given everything going on. And was I afraid of not finishing that? Oh, yeah. Was I afraid of what people thought of me? Oh, yeah. I'm a coach. Social media can be wicked. You put something like that in the pathetics group and you'll get slaughtered. Because they're
Absolutely.
not. Absolutely.
Yeah, not a fan.
So anyway.
But what you did was you took control of the narrative of the day. You didn't allow anyone else to make the story up for you. Right? You said, hey, this is how it's going to go down. Here's the plan A and plan B, and this is my story. This is how I'm going to rock it out because I'm a badass cardiac athlete that's going to kick some butt today.
Yeah, and it was probably one of the best times that I had being a back of the packer, walking. I don't know about you, but the rich.
I think I saw the picture you're talking about. Were you doing did you have that Yeah.
Oh, I did that. And yeah, I did. There was 2 of them that were really, 2 or 3 of them that got some really good, there's BK. Just BK, right? Because I've lived my life under a crap ton of negative narrative and a blah, 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 blah. And, the first time that I ever saw and experienced BK just by herself was in my first Ironman Wisconsin swim with the mass start, and I had worked my ass off to be able to be calm and not freak out and not feel like I was going to die and be afraid. There was none of that. No history, no past stuff, no drama, trauma, blah, blah, blah. And that's what Boulder was too. This is just me. Raw, real. I don't give a crap what you think about me. If I'm finishing last, if I'm not finishing, I'm showing up and I'm putting up and I'm doing the very best that I can.
Absolutely. Own that story, girl.
Oh, hell yeah. 8:17, baby.
Okay. You know what? A finish is a finish, girl. And when you said your contingency was fully owning that there might not have been a finish,
yeah.
I mean, that changed the whole story for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You did awesome. So then, our big takeaway here is that you are the narrator of your life, right? At the start, we asked you, what do you want the story of your life to be? Well, you have the opportunity through working through these self-imposed obstacles, separate those from the real obstacles, and it's all about our mindset.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're the driver of your success. This doesn't happen to you. You have to take an active role in your own, path here.
Absolutely. One thing that we were talking about that you haven't said it yet, and I was waiting, but that true north, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it.
Okay.
It was fine. It was so good.
This is what I love working with you on. We're just really, we're on the same page. So, we're talking about your true north, and we're talking about developing that bias for positive thoughts and positive action. You have to work at it. And if you do that, everything changes. What you see changes, what you do changes, the energy around you changes, people change around you, everything changes.
Yeah. It's like that ripple effect.
Okay. We have, what's the next thing? Oh, there we go. Jennifer. Oh, I know.
Ask and you shall receive.
So we started talking about doing a program years ago, and we don't want this to be salesy, but we're going to put it out there. We started talking a year ago, 2 years ago, about doing a program together.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, and you know, I think the timing was, you know, perfect. We met up in Ohio, and you know, we really decided, okay, we got a lot to say, and we know people, you know, we're trying to pay forward. Because I don't know about you, but you know, the way that I went through this stuff, I just want to help people get through this personal, real tough stuff, maybe a little bit easier, a little bit, you know.
And if anything, realize that they're not alone in the struggle. I mean, you're a coach, I'm a coach. We're both here in this place of helping others, mentoring, sharing light, clearing the path, but we have lived it, right? We both have been in the mix of all these topics, if not still in the mix of them.
Yeah, they're like an onion. It's a really big onion, I think. Like one of those huge pumpkin onions.
Yeah, the big ones.
So anyway, if you guys are, you know, if this jives with you, you might want to look at the program that we have created for you. It's a transformation, really kind of trying to get things different mentally. You know, and if you're lacking a little bit of bravery on some of this stuff, this is why we put this group together to, you can borrow some of our bravery. We freely give it out. And just knowing that people are struggling with the same things takes kind of the strength out of it and gives you a little bit more. So, you know, mental practices and strength workouts and yoga and all this fun and games. We put some stuff together and we're like super excited about it. So you could go check it out.
I love it.
I know, right?
It's the first thing I've seen, and it might be biased, but it's the first thing I've really seen that addresses all parts of transformation. What starts in our head, these things that we don't talk about, but when we try the physical stuff, right, like the nutrition, or we try this new workout, it doesn't yield the same impact because at the core of us, we're not ready to accept it because we haven't addressed that mental side of us. So the fact that we're approaching all of these topics at once, really, I think will be a game changer for quite a few people.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks, Jennifer, for your time and organizing all this. And we are going to give you guys just a ton of other fun stuff. So,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Ah, ciao, ciao, ciao.